Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Passing this budget resolution is absolutely a critical step toward reducing federal spending, toward securing our border, and providing tax relief for hardworking Americans. Federal spending is absolutely out of control. Our national debt right now exceeds $36.4 trillion. We're paying $952 billion in interest each year. That's more than the $820 billion that we spend on national defense. And this ballooning national debt is absolutely unsustainable. Congress cannot keep spending and leave the next generation of the bill. We're talking about the actual security of our nation at this point. The federal government must stop wasting and abusing American taxpayer dollars. It's simply not sustainable. And this budget resolution sets the foundation for a fiscally responsible package that will finally rein in federal spending. The package also will address the crisis on our southern border. We saw in the last administration what the open border policies have done. They've essentially poured gasoline on the fire. Every state, including my home state of North Carolina, now is essentially a border state. While communities in western North Carolina that I, along with Representative Edwards, who's on the committee, were trying to rebuild after Hurricane Helene, we found that the Biden administration used FEMA resources to house illegal aliens in luxury hotels. Mind you, at the same time, they were talking about cutting off housing for Americans who live in my district who had nowhere else to go. Since late 2022, FEMA has spent over $1.4 billion of our hard-earned tax money on migrant housing, transportation, and services. And while the Biden administration turned a blind eye to the border, the flow of illicit drugs has reached an all-time high. In 2023, more than 100,000 people died of drug overdoses. This is the real cost of open borders. This budget resolution lays the groundwork to secure the border, invest in national defense, and ensure public safety. The budget also ensures that the 2017 Trump tax cuts remain. If we extend the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, middle-class families and small businesses, not billionaires like some on the Democratic side like to talk about, will experience the largest tax increase in American history. This tax cut will help the middle-class working families who are doing the best they can to get by during these record high periods of inflation. So what did these things do to help? These tax cuts that went in place helped offset a lot of what would have been worse during COVID, during the excess federal inflationary period of the last 4 years, and helped keep the country from being in as worse shape than it would have been. Look, I've seen a lot of data. I've seen a lot of things talked about back and forth. Before I came here, I was our Speaker of the State House and was involved in writing budgets for about 14 years. And I know what it takes to write a budget. You have to live within your means. And for decades, Washington has not lived within its means. And I applaud Speaker Johnson. I applaud Chairman Arrington. I applaud my fellow members of this committee for finally taking a serious look at trying to rein in spending. Now, for those who are watching and listening to my Democratic friends, do not be scared. They talk about cuts to Medicaid in here, talk about cuts to Medicare. I've looked at this bill. I've read all the pages. It isn't in there. It's just made up. Go online, read it for yourself. That's not in there. This budget is going to be something that is responsible, that takes care of folks. As someone who represents a very rural district, in fact, I know, the struggle that we have in terms of health care access, and particularly affected by rural communities. So the American people can rest assured that this Congress is aware of that, and that this Congress is going to budget fiscally, but is also going to demand that we get rid of waste, fraud, and abuse. I do applaud the efforts of Elon Musk in going and coming in and working on this. I mean, think about this. This is one of the smartest minds of our time who has done so much advancing space exploration. But for him, I don't know where we would be on EV technology. And he is volunteering his time to come and offer ways to provide increased efficiencies and turning things around. And many members have already talked about some of the examples of absolute waste, fraud, and abuse. The American people want to see us get our house in order. They set a clear mandate in this last election, and we need to get it done. With that, I yield my time, Mr. Chairman.